Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another exciting, orgasmic, titillating edition of Radical Rockin' Record Reviews. And I'm your host as always, Wild Ride bassist Mick Watkins, otherwise known as Dick Twatkins. And today, guys, let me take the shades off. You guys know how cool I am and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, guys, today I want to begin a little series I got going on. It's going to be a 5-part series that I have entitled Decades. Okay? The concept of decades was inspired by a conversation that I had of a friend of mine, a watcher of the program here on YouTube. His name is Trevor Bollock. Trevor inspired me to start this series, to start this episodic series called Decades. And what Decades is going to be, I'm going to take the 5 decades that hard rock and heavy metal music has been in existence. We're talking about the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and the 2010s. It's the 5 decades that hard rock and heavy metal has been around. And I'm going to go through each decade and I'm going to give you my favorite album of every year in that decade. So, of course, we've got to start off with the beginning of it all. To me, I know you had some hard rock, some heavy metal releases come out, some heavy metal bands that existed before 1970, okay? But to me, the genre as a full, hard rock, heavy metal, did not really come into fruition until the year 1970, okay? So we're going to start off in 1970, and we're going to go all the way up to, I guess, 2019 at the final year of the 2010s, because we can't get into the 2020s yet because we're only 2 years into it. So maybe like in 8 years, we'll do the decades, the 2020s. So without further ado, thank you, Trevor Bollock, for inspiring this episode and this whole series. So guys, let's talk about my personal favorite album of the year 1970, okay? My favorite album of the year 1970. The year that I truly believe that heavy metal and hard rock came to fruition. The year that it was born. And this is kind of by default right here. My first selection. My favorite album of 1970. I looked through the collection behind me. I Googled hard rock albums of 1970. Was it heavy metal albums of 1970? And they all kind of came up. And I looked through all of them and I decided on my favorite. Like I said, this one was kind of by default, okay? I mean, of course, year 1970, the birth of heavy metal. You gotta give it up for, what's it gonna be? Do you know? The debut album from the band Black Sabbath, Black Sabbath. To me, this is just by default. This is by default. This is probably one of, if not, the most important heavy metal, hard rock albums of all time, okay? 1970, you got the fucking grandfathers of heavy metal. Ozzy Osbourne on lead vocals, Tony Iommi on guitar, Geezer Butler on bass, and Bill Ward on drums. Now, I'm gonna be honest. If you have watched my ranking the albums of Black Sabbath episode I did about a year ago, if you haven't, after this program, go check that out. But if you have watched my ranking the albums of Black Sabbath, you know how I feel about this album. And while I'll fully admit that it is the birth of what we know as heavy metal today, I gotta be honest, I'm not the hugest fan of this album, alright? And I gotta be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of a lot of early 70s recording productions, alright? I don't know. Something about it doesn't really hit me all that strong. But nonetheless, this is a classic release, guys. Classic release. I mean, it opens up with the title cut. Quite possibly one of the evilest songs of all time. And a song that whenever I'm jamming with Wild Ride at practice or something, I cannot help but hit. on my bass. It's just one of the greatest riffs, one of the greatest heavy metal songs of all time, quite possibly the very first heavy metal song, Black Sabbath. You got The Wizard, Behind the Wall of Sleep, N.I.P. Awesome. Once again, a great bass riff by Geezer Butler. On this version that I have, it has Evil Woman, don't you play your games on me. Evil Woman, Sleeping Village, and Warning. So right here, guys, coming at number 1, my favorite album, kind of by default, of 1970, the birthplace of heavy metal, where it all started for the genre that we all love so much. Favorite album in 1970, Black Sabbath, debut album, Black Sabbath. So there you go. So that's my number 1. Number 2, my favorite album of 1971. This one, whenever I thought of the year 1971, to me, it was a no-brainer. This was easy. Probably one of the easiest ones on this list. Gotta go with, dude, an album to me that is this band kind of coming into their own, kind of really defining their true sound of what the next couple years and couple albums is going to be for this band. And this album, turning 50 years old this year, still has some of this band and some of this artist's best songs. I'm talking about my favorite album of 1971. Do you know what it is? Do you know what it is? Huh? Dude, if you've watched this program before in the past, you've been following me through this adventure known as Radical Rock and Record Reviews, you know that one of my all-time favorite artists and bands is Alice Cooper. So with that being said, my favorite album of 1971, whoosh, Alice Cooper, Killer. Dude, turn it around. You got Dennis Dunaway, Alice Cooper, Michael Bruce, Glenn Buxton, the Platinum God, Neil Smith. Is this the one where you open it up and it has the calendar? Yeah, of course it is. Well, oh, fuck. Ah, there it is. Check it out. Alice Cooper hanging from the noose in the 1971 calendar. Dude, I can gush all freaking day over this masterpiece. To me, this is one of the top Alice Cooper albums. It's a fucking masterpiece, dude. I mean, it starts off Under My Wheels. Every Alice Cooper concert you go to see, Alice Cooper and his band have always gotta play Under My Wheels. The telephone is ringing. I got you on the run. I'm driving in my car now, anticipating fun. I'm driving right up to you, babe. I couldn't get you to see, yeah, that you were under my wheels, honey. Now won't you let me be? Dude, amazing Under My Wheels. God, this album's so good. This is, in my opinion, Love It to Death is excellent. I love It to Death. But Killer is where Alice Cooper, the band, and the artist, they really, truly find their footing on this album. You got Under My Wheels. You got Be My Lover. You better take me home, 'cause it's a long way through paradise, and I'm still on my own. Dude, awesome shit. Dude, and I gotta say, quite possibly my favorite Alice Cooper song of all time, the original band's masterpiece in my opinion, Halo of Flies. Fucking, how long is Halo of Flies? Like, it's like a 6 or 7 minute long epic that just takes you on these journeys, and it's insane. If you've never heard Halo of Flies, dude, you gotta check out Halo of Flies. Amazing song. I've seen Alice Cooper play that song a couple times live. I think the last time I seen him live, a couple years ago, with Nita Strauss and Ryan Roxy and Chuck Garrick and the current live band, they pulled it off flawlessly live. It was amazing. What else you got? You got Desperado. I'm a gambler. Dude, Desperado, amazing. Turn over to side 2. You drive me nervous and nervous. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Another great song. Probably the weakest song on this album. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And dude, I was just playing this bass riff the other day at Wild Ride rehearsal. Dead babies can't take things off the shelf. Dead babies can't take care of themselves. And then it ends with the title track, Killer. Dude. 1971, my favorite album. Alice Cooper, Killer. If you've never heard this, dude, do yourself a favor. Check it the fuck out. Amazing stuff, guys. Amazing stuff. Now this one, my favorite album of 1972. Or that'd be 4, wouldn't it? My favorite album of 1972. This one I don't have on vinyl, so I gotta show you like a CD. But I gotta go with this. Quite possibly, my favorite album by this band. I'm gonna go with Demons and Wizards by Uriah Heep. Check that album cover out. It's amazing, amazing stuff, guys. Uriah Heep, to me, one of the forefathers, one of the grandfathers of heavy metal. Very underappreciated, very underrated band in my opinion. Great album artwork. And if you look up in the kind of the left-hand corner, see a PP and a vagina. Check that out. Isn't that kind of crazy? You got a PP and a vagina. Look at that. Pretty wild. But anyway, dude, Demons and Wizards. Excellent album. Like I said, quite possibly my favorite Uriah Heep album, which could be spoiling the eventual Uriah Heep ranking the albums episode, but whatever. But it kicks off, dude, with The Wizard. One of the most beautiful songs possibly ever written on an acoustic guitar. I remember one night sitting around hanging out with my dad, back when my dad was still alive, and hanging out with my brother Nigel, and I think my buddy John Bon Joey, Joey Dill Doey, Joseph Barnes. I think we were all hanging around one night, just chilling. And I had an acoustic guitar in my room, and my dad just out of nowhere just picked the acoustic guitar up and started strumming the chords of The Wizard. It was like such a profound, cool moment and memory that I'll never, ever forget, you know? Yeah, but The Wizard, just amazing. The soulful, great vocals of David Byron, Mick Box on the guitar. I might even be Ken Hensley playing acoustic guitar on there with Mick Box. I know Ken Hensley sometimes would pick up the guitar and join Mick Box. You got easy living, and I'm being forgiven since you taken your place in my heart. Easy living, circle of hands. Oh, beautiful song. And Rainbow Demon, pick up your heart and run. Just great shit, dude. Rainbow Demon, all my life, and quite possibly my favorite song on it. Probably it is my favorite song on the album, Paradise. What's the use? You turned me loose, left me here to cry. Where's the love I talked about? Where's my sunny sky? Dude, David Byron. Honestly, one of the greatest vocalists of all time. And if you didn't know this, here's a little fun fact. David Byron from Uriah Heep was a huge influence on King Diamond as a vocalist. So yeah, guys, just once again, if you haven't checked this out, if you're a heavy metal hard rock fan and you've never heard Uriah Heep, Demons and Wizards, gotta look it up. Get on your Spotify, get on your YouTube. Better yet, go to your record store. Throw this baby on CD, on vinyl, and just throw it on. Sit back, turn on the black light, turn on the lava lamp. Maybe do you something to like enhance the feeling, and just, dude, blow it up. Get it going. Uriah Heep, Demons and Wizards, my favorite album of 1972. So now we're gonna move into 1973. Once again, this was a pretty easy choice for me. Had to go, once again, with the mighty Alice Cooper with Billion Dollar Babies. La da 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 da. Alice Cooper, Billion Dollar Babies. Amazing stuff. You open up the gatefold, dude. There's the band inside the wallet. Unfortunately, this vinyl copy that I have doesn't have the cool dollar bill. I think this is like a later kind of 80s pressing, because this part right here on the original, you can kind of pull this up, and that's where the dollar slides in. But this copy isn't like that. It doesn't have the embossed front, whatever. But yeah, dude, I mean, excellent songs. Opens up with Hello. Opens up with Hello. Hooray. Goes into Raped and Freezing, Elected, the title track, Billion Dollar Babies. One of my favorite Alice Cooper songs ever, Unfinished Sweet, which talks about candy in my air, candy in the air, got chocolate in my hair, aching to get me, sticky sweet suckers in the Halloween air, aching to get me, St. Vitus dance on my molars tonight. Talks about Alice Cooper going out trick-or-treating, getting candy, eating the candy, and getting cavities, and having to go to this demented, crazy-ass, evil, sadistic dentist, where the dentist looks at him and says, looks at my mouth, and then he starts to gloat. Says, my teeth are okay, but my gums gotta go. And then the drill starts, just crazy shit. Of course, it's got the huge hit that's still all over classic rock radio today, No More Mr. Nice Guy. It's got two songs at the very end that I absolutely love, dude. I Love the Dead and Sick Things. You put those songs together, I love the dead. Ooh, doo, ooh, I love the dead. And sick things in cars rotate round my stars. To me, this was the original. If the original Alice Cooper band had truly found their footing on Love It to Death, and even more so, in my opinion, on Killer, this was the original Alice Cooper group at their creative peak. 1973, my favorite album is 73, Billion Dollar Babies. Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff, guys. So now we're getting further into the 70s. My favorite album, 1974. This was easy as fuck for me to figure out. If you look at the shirt, you look around me, and if you've watched previous episodes, you know that I'm a huge Kiss geek. I'm a huge Kiss fan. I'm a proud member of the Kiss Army. That being said, my favorite album of 1974, and honestly, one of my favorite productions of any album in rock and roll heavy metal history. I just love the sound of this album. I love the production. I love the vibe. A lot of people don't. A lot of people think the production of this album sucks, but I totally disagree. 1974, Kiss's grimy, grungy, dark, American heavy metal 70s masterpiece. Hot, hot, hotter than hell. Dude, hotter than hell. Like I said, this album's got a very distorted, hot, grimy production. Echoey, just very grungy. I don't know how else to describe it, but the production on this album is usually by Kiss fans and rock and metal fans. It's either love it or hate it, and I absolutely love it. I mean, it kicks off Got to Choose, one of my all-time favorite Kiss songs. My God, I love Got to Choose. It's very fun to play on bass. I love throwing down that one on the bass. It's got she'll always be there trying to grab a hold. Parasite lady, parasite eyes. Parasite. Going Blind, which features one of Ace Frehley's most melodically structured badass guitar solos. It's got the cool boogie fever of Let Me Go, rock and roll, all the way, Watching You, another hot fucking cool mid-70s American heavy metal riff. Mainline, which features personally one of my favorite Ace Frehley solos. Coming Home, and it closes out with the psychedelic heavy metal stomp Ace Frehley penned Strange Ways, which features quite possibly Ace's best solo. That is just drenched in just pentatonic bluesy madness, kind of drenched with this phaser effect that just honestly started my love of phaser effects and phaser pedals. But yeah, dude, to me, Kiss, this is before all the merchandise kicked in for Kiss, and Kiss kind of turned into kind of a more of a commercial kind of band. This is early Kiss. I call it kind of the black and silver era of Kiss, where they were just this dark, evil, menacing, streets of New York, hard rock, heavy metal, dangerous band. So check it out. My favorite album of 1974, Kiss, Hotter Than Hell. Now, that kind of starts a string of albums by Kiss, honestly. And my favorite album of 1975, honestly, in this kind of series that I'm calling Decades, I really kind of don't, for some reason, using live albums kind of bothers me. I don't know why, but it kind of does. Sometimes I love lots of live albums, of course, but sometimes I've got a prejudice against live albums, kind of like almost like they don't count or something. I don't know. So that's how my mind works. But anyway, seeing that this is my favorite album of 1975 and overall my favorite album of all time, if somebody wanted to say, Mick, sum up your taste in music. What do you love about music? I'd be like, dude, this, my favorite album of 1975, and my favorite album of all fucking time, Kiss Alive. What more can I say about it? I think this album is hard rock, heavy metal perfection. This is the greatest thing Kiss ever recorded. To me, if anybody wants to hear Kiss, I gotta say, dude, throw this on. Throw this shit on. And if anybody says Kiss sucks, which through my lifetime, I've gotten heckled a lot. Oh, fuck Kiss, they suck. I'm like, dude, have you ever heard Kiss Alive? Well, no. Then you don't know shit. If you ever get picked on or get your ass kicked for liking Kiss, throw this at them. They'll shut the fuck up real quick, I promise. Deuce, Strutter, Got to Choose, Hotter Than Hell, Firehouse, Parasite, Watching You, Rock Bottom, Cold Gin, Rock and Roll All Night. Most of the songs featured on this are the definitive versions. Honestly, the only two songs that I think I prefer the studio versions more are probably Cold Gin, which I just really love that studio version of Cold Gin off the first Kiss album. Probably Cold Gin and Come On and Love Me. I love the studio version of Come On and Love Me off Dressed to Kill because it has the kind of the backing of the acoustic guitars. I think it really fits that song well. This album is perfection. Right there, of course, we know the great gatefold. This album changed my life. I just got to show it off. There's the gatefold. There's the back. Cobo Hall, Detroit, Michigan. So cool, man. Kiss at their very best. Kiss Alive, my favorite album of 1975. My favorite album in 1976. Once again, you wanted the best, you got the best. The hottest band in the world, Kiss. Gotta go with Rock and Roll Over, dude. Rock and Roll Over. To me, quite possibly the best Kiss studio offering. This is Kiss firing on all cylinders. This is Kiss, just, I don't know. To me, I like it like this. Gene and Ace are my favorite members. But anyway, just to me, this album just reeks of rock star attitude. Rock star machismo. It just got a confidence and swagger that I don't think Kiss had in a studio offering until this album, dude. This is just Kiss really just, living the life, loving the life, being young, being millionaires, being rock stars. And that's just what it is, dude. I mean, you got I Want You, Take Me. They call me Dr. Love. They call me Dr. Love. A great Ace Frehley guitar solo. I mean, dude. Ladies' Room, Baby Driver, Low 'em and Leave 'em. See you, feel you in your dreams tonight. I just love it, dude. To me, on a studio offering, these might be Ace Frehley's hottest guitar solos. Gene's in fine form. Peter Criss is in fine form. Paul Stanley, the ultimate rock star. Wow, yeah. He's in fine form. So coming in as my favorite album of 1976, Rock and Roll Over. Yeah. Love it, dude. So that right there ends the string of the Kiss albums. My favorite album in 1977 is by one of my favorite bands. Definitely a top 10 band for me. Maybe even on the outer skirts of my top 5. A band that in recent years, I've really loved this band for a long time. But I'd say over the past couple years, this band has really kind of moved up the charts as far as being a favorite band of mine goes. Gotta go with my favorite album of 1977. As I have described this album to people as being just a dark, nocturnal, atmospheric masterpiece. It's the best way I can describe this record. And please, if you've never heard this, you gotta listen to it. It is essential listening. From yours truly, Mick Watkins, otherwise known as Dick Twatkins, bassist of Wild Ride. Gotta go with my favorite album in 1977. Blue Oyster Cult, Spectres. Fucking nocturnal masterpiece. It's so just classic sounding, elegant sounding. It's amazing. Godzilla. I know you've heard Godzilla. Golden Age of Leather. Raise your can of beer on high and seal your fate forever. Our best years have passed us by. The Golden Age of Leather. Dude, Death Valley Nights. Death Valley Nights is amazing. Oh gosh. Searching for Celine, fireworks shooting up in ahead, on ahead. Love it. Are you ready to rock? Yes, I am. Celestial the Queen, going through the motions, and we're going through the motions. Dude, and quite possibly my favorite Blue Oyster Cult song. Just sets this cool, fucking laid back, stoned out mood, vampiric mood. I love the night. Man, so good. Buck Dharma's voice sounds so amazing, and the guitar sounds so amazing. Just great. I love the night. Check it out. Blue Oyster Cult, I love the night. Listen to it. And it closes out with Nosferatu. Nosferatu. I mean, hey, Eric Bloom, Joe Bouchard, Buck Dharma, Albert Bouchard, Alan Lanier, Blue Oyster Cult. Kind of like Uriah Heep, in my opinion, a very underappreciated, very underrated hard rock, heavy metal band. And yes, I did call Blue Oyster Cult a heavy metal band, because as far as 1970s goes, I consider Blue Oyster Cult American heavy metal. But of course, that's a whole debate we could go into for hours and hours and hours. Who is heavy metal, who is not? Is Blue Oyster Cult heavy metal by 2021 standards? No. 1977 standards? Absolutely yes. Yes, they are. So yeah, my favorite album of 1977, Blue Oyster Cult, Spectres. Great shit. So here you go, talking about heavy metal. There's no question that this band heavy metal or hard rock? No doubt about it. This band is heavy metal. This band, if Sabbath was heavy, then Judas fucking Priest was metal. And I'm talking about my favorite album of 1978, none other than the sublime, suicidal classic, Stained Glass. Kicks off with Exciter. Probably one of the heaviest songs to date. Like in 1978, who else was doing music as heavy as Judas Priest doing Exciter? That shit laid the groundwork like a good 6-7 years for the whole thrash movement and shit. Dude, Judas Priest was so ahead of their time. You got Exciter, White Heat, Red Hot, better by you, better than me. Stained Glass, the title track, L'invader, now Invader, which whenever I'm listening to this and I hear Invader, I always sing, Darth Vader nearby. I don't know, that's just what I do. I'm fucking weird. Yeah, it kicks off side B with my favorite song on the album, quite possibly, definitely a top 5 Judas Priest song of mine, Saints in Hell. We are saints in hell! Oh, we are saints in hell! Saints in Hell, fucking amazing. Savage, which another weird thing that I sing, who's the savage? Oh man, Randy Savage, the Macho Man. Randy Savage, the Macho Man. Randy Savage, the Macho Man. I always sing that when I'm singing Savage in my car, jamming it out. And another great dark-ass, depressing, but powerful and uplifting song at the same time, Beyond the Realms of Death. And it closes out with Hero's End. You got the kick-ass lineup of Rob Halford on vocals, Glenn Tipton on guitar, KK Downing on guitar, Ian Hill on bass, and Les Binks. Probably my favorite Judas Priest drummer, Les Binks. Dude, Judas Priest at their 70s peak. Definitely in my opinion. Such a masterpiece. 1978 heavy metal. I mean, you can see as we went on from 1970 with Black Sabbath. Now you're getting into 1978. We're getting closer to the 80s. You see the evolution of heavy metal. And right here, Judas Priest takes the ball from Black Sabbath and pushes it. Like, this is heavy metal, state of the art, 78. And we're gearing up for the 80s, bitch. Love Judas Priest. One of my top 3 favorite bands of all time. So check it out. Judas Priest, Stained Class. Favorite album, 1978. And here we go. 1979, it draws the 70s to a close. And this one was tough. Like I said, besides Kiss Alive, I really don't think I'll be including live albums in this. More than likely just studio albums. With that being said, I had a really fucking hard time not making Judas Priest Unleashed in the East my favorite album of 1979. Because if I'm okay with truly including live albums, it's very debatable, man. It's neck and neck. Judas Priest Unleashed in the East, live in Japan, or this album. And after I kind of weighed them out, I'm like, God, I almost feel guilty not picking Unleashed in the East. But ultimately, I had to go with this, man. And, well, if you watched the last episode, you know I talked about this album quite a bit. But yeah, gotta go. Ultimately, I just chose, I was like, this to me feels right for some reason. Probably because of that prejudice I have against live albums sometimes. But anyway, my favorite album of 1979, AC/DC, Highway to Hell. If you want to hear a lot of my thoughts on AC/DC, Highway to Hell, check out the last episode, my AC/DC ranking the albums. And you'll hear me gush and just jizz all over this album. But really, in my opinion, AC/DC kind of like at their peak, to me, at their peak. Even though Back in Black, which came out a year later with Brian Johnson, Back in Black is fucking neck and neck, dude. Just as good, but I don't think it's better than Highway to Hell. No way. I mean, you got Bon Scott. Sadly, Bon Scott passed away a year later. This was his last album with AC/DC. I've always heard Bon Scott being called one of the greatest toilet seat poets or something, like a toilet seat poet, and that's the perfect way to describe Bon. He was just the ultimate rock star and one of the greatest lyricists in rock and roll history, dude. And I mean, fucking Night Prowler, Walk All Over You, Touch Too Much, Beating Around the Bush, just so cool. His lyrics are just so awesome. Angus Young firing on all cylinders as a lead guitar player. Malcolm Young, Cliff Williams, Phil Rudd, AC/DC, Highway to Hell, just a masterpiece, dude, masterpiece. I almost had to pick it, even though this and Judas Priest Unleashed the East are neck and neck, like I said. So there you go, guys, my favorite album of 1979 that closes out the 70s. So 79, AC/DC, Highway to Hell. 78, Stained Class by Judas Priest. 1977, Spectres by Blue Oyster Cult. 1976, Rock and Roll Over by Kiss. 1975, probably the only inclusion of a live album. Had to. Kiss Alive. 1974, favorite album, Hotter Than Hell by Kiss. 1973, Billion Dollar Babies by Alice Cooper. 1972, Uriah Heep, Demons and Wizards. What's the Loose? You Turn Me Loose and Left Me Here to Cry. Love it. Love Paradise. And the spell's pretty cool too. 1971, Alice Cooper Killer. And 1970, the very first heavy metal album, in my opinion, Black Sabbath. So there you go, guys. This is the first episode of my new series I'm calling Decades. We just completed the 70s. Coming up next will be Decades, the 80s. My favorite album from every year. And we'll go through the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and the 2010s. So guys, I want to thank you all for tuning in. I want to thank you for all the great killer comments you guys leave me. I want to thank you for all the subscriptions. And I want to thank you guys for checking out my band Wild Ride. WYLDRYDE on Facebook. Official Wild Ride on Instagram.com. wildride.bandcamp.com. You can get your cool Wild Ride CDs, t-shirts, patches, trucker hats. We got it all. We're like Kiss. The only thing we don't have is condoms and coffins. We can't get you coming and going, that's what Gene says. But anyway, check out Wild Ride, guys, and just thank you for supporting the channel. And until next time, keep rocking. I love you all, and I will see ya on the next one. Decades, the 80s. See you guys.